The rain had been pouring for hours, leaving the streets nearly empty as people hurried indoors to escape the cold. A small family diner on the corner glowed with warm yellow lights, offering shelter from the storm. Inside, customers enjoyed bowls of hot soup, fresh coffee, and friendly conversations. The atmosphere was cozy until the front door slowly opened. A young woman stepped inside, drenched from head to toe. Her jacket was faded, her jeans were stained with mud, and drops of rain fell from her hair onto the floor. She looked tired, cold, and uncertain. For a moment, she stood near the entrance, wondering if she should leave before anyone asked her to. This woman was Emma Carter, the CEO of one of the country's fastest-growing technology companies. The previous night, she had decided to spend one full day living without the comfort, respect, or influence that came with her wealth. She wanted to understand how strangers treated someone they believed had nothing. The waitress walked over with a polite but cautious smile. "Can I get you something?" she asked. Emma glanced at the menu before quietly lowering it. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I don't think I can afford anything. Could I just sit here for a few minutes until the rain eases?" The waitress looked toward the manager, who gave a hesitant nod. Emma quietly sat in the corner, trying not to draw attention. Still, several customers noticed her. Some whispered to each other. Others avoided looking at her altogether. One well-dressed businessman frowned and muttered, "People like that shouldn't come in if they can't pay." Emma pretended not to hear, but the words stung more than she expected. A few tables away sat Daniel Brooks, a hard-working single father who had just finished a 10-hour shift at a construction site. His hands were rough, his clothes carried the dust of the day's work, and exhaustion showed on his face. He had exactly enough money left to buy himself one bowl of tomato soup, 2 slices of bread, and a cup of coffee before heading home to his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. As Daniel waited for his meal, he noticed Emma, trying not to look at the food being served around the diner. She wasn't asking anyone for help or trying to gain sympathy. She simply sat quietly, hoping the rain would stop. When the waitress placed Daniel's tray on the table, he looked at it for a second, then looked back at Emma. "Excuse me," he called gently. The waitress returned. "Could you take this meal to the young lady over there?" She looked surprised. "Sir, this is the only meal you ordered." Daniel smiled. "I know. She looks like she needs it more than I do." Emma stared at him in disbelief. No cameras were watching. No one was applauding. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was simply choosing kindness when it cost him something real. In that quiet moment, Emma realized she had just met someone whose generosity was far greater than any fortune money could buy. The next morning began like any other. Daniel woke before sunrise, prepared breakfast for his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, and walked her to the school bus stop. He never mentioned the woman from the diner. To him, sharing his meal wasn't something extraordinary. It was simply what his late wife had always believed, that if you had enough to help someone, you should. After dropping Lily off, Daniel headed to the headquarters of Carter Innovations, where he had an interview for a maintenance supervisor position. His old company had recently closed, and he desperately needed stable work to support his daughter. Wearing his only neatly pressed shirt and carefully polished shoes, he stepped into the modern glass building feeling both hopeful and nervous. The receptionist greeted him warmly and asked him to wait in the conference room. A few minutes later, several senior executives entered, followed by a familiar face. Daniel blinked in surprise. It was the same young woman from the diner. Only now she wore a tailored navy business suit, her hair was neatly styled, and everyone in the room stood as she entered. She smiled when their eyes met. "Good morning, Daniel." He stared at her, confused. I don't understand." She pulled out a chair and sat across from him. "My name is Emma Carter," she said. "I'm the CEO of this company." Daniel was speechless. The memory of the previous evening rushed back, and suddenly everything made sense. Emma continued calmly. "Yesterday wasn't an accident. Once every year I spend a day without my title, expensive clothes, or the influence that comes with my position. I want to remind myself how people treat someone they believe has nothing." She paused before adding, Most people looked away. Some judged me without saying a word. A few openly suggested I should leave. But you never asked who I was or whether helping me would benefit you. You simply saw someone who was hungry. Daniel lowered his eyes. It wasn't a big thing, he said quietly. Anyone should have done the same. Emma smiled gently. That's exactly why it mattered. You believed kindness was ordinary, even when it cost you your own dinner. For the first time in years, Emma felt she had found someone whose character couldn't be measured by a resume, wealth, or status. It was measured by a simple choice made on an ordinary rainy evening. Daniel sat quietly, still trying to process everything that had happened. The woman he had shared his dinner with was not only the CEO of the company, but also the person deciding whether he would get the job. He wondered if she felt obligated to help him because of his kindness, but deep down he hoped that wasn't the reason. He had never expected anything in return for offering a meal to a stranger. Emma noticed the uncertainty on his face. I know what you're thinking, she said. You're worried this decision is based on one act of kindness. Daniel gave a small nod. She smiled gently. It isn't. Yesterday simply showed me something your resume couldn't. Emma asked him about his previous jobs, the challenges he had faced, and how he managed life as a single father. Daniel answered honestly. He admitted that after losing his wife, there were times when balancing work and raising Lily felt almost impossible. Still, he never missed one of her school events, and he always tried to teach her that a person's character mattered more than money. As they talked, Emma realized Daniel never blamed others for his hardships. He spoke with humility, accepted responsibility for his choices, and focused on moving forward instead of complaining about the past. Later that morning, Emma met with the hiring committee. Several managers pointed out that another candidate had more leadership experience and stronger technical certifications. Emma listened carefully before responding. Experience is valuable, she said, but the people we hire shape the culture of this company. Technical skills can be improved through training. Integrity, compassion, and responsibility are much harder to teach. After a brief discussion, the committee agreed. Emma returned to the meeting room where Daniel was waiting. I'm pleased to offer you the position of maintenance supervisor, she said with a warm smile. You'll receive a competitive salary, full benefits, and opportunities for professional development. Daniel looked genuinely surprised. Thank you, he said quietly. I promise I'll earn this opportunity. Emma nodded. I believe you will. Yesterday you showed kindness. Today you've shown honesty and resilience. Those qualities are exactly what this company needs. Several months passed, and Daniel quickly proved that Emma's decision had been the right one. He arrived early every morning, treated every employee with respect, and never considered any task beneath him. Whether he was solving maintenance problems, helping a new employee find their way around the building, or staying late to fix an urgent issue, he worked with the same quiet dedication that had led him to share his only meal with a stranger. His positive attitude began to influence those around him. Employees who had rarely spoken to one another started working together more closely. Managers noticed that morale had improved, not because of expensive incentives, but because people felt valued and respected. Emma also introduced a new company initiative inspired by what she had learned during her day in disguise. The program provided emergency financial assistance, free meals during difficult times, and flexible schedules for employees facing family hardships. She believed that a successful business should care for its people, not just its profits. One afternoon, Emma visited Daniel's office. I've been thinking about that rainy evening, she said with a smile. One simple act of kindness changed more than either of us expected. Daniel looked out the window for a moment. I didn't change your company alone, he replied. You chose to listen and do something about what you learned. Emma nodded. And you reminded me that leadership isn't measured by the size of an office or a title. It's measured by the way we treat people when they have nothing to offer us. That evening, Daniel returned home to Lily with exciting news. He told her about his promotion and the opportunities ahead. Lily smiled proudly before asking, Is that because you helped the lady at the diner? Daniel laughed softly. No, he answered. It's because kindness has a way of opening doors you never expect. As they shared dinner together, both father and daughter understood that generosity is never wasted. Even when there is no reward, every sincere act of compassion leaves a lasting impact on someone's life. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness creates the greatest change, reminding us that character is worth far more than wealth or status.